Super Mario Odyssey, a game which has been thriving for 7 years now, and despite that, I only recently got my hands on a copy, which I had a blast playing through. Now, one other thing I've always been interested in is trying to get into speedrunning. And, well, Super Mario Odyssey has a pretty good community when it comes to that, and a far range of categories to choose from. But let's start simple, with any percent. This is the story of learning Super Mario Odyssey any percent speedrun. So first things first, we need to do a run. And well, for the first attempt, I went in blind, just to get an idea of how quick I can actually complete it without knowing optimal pathing, skips, movement and moon locations. The only help to start with was following a beginner's route Google sheet I found online. The link will be in the description for that. To know what moons I had to collect. However, since we are playing in simplified Chinese for fast dialogue, I have no idea if they are the correct moon, so had to keep taking the time to link the guide with the wiki page on moons and their locations. Although it is the first run, there are a few skips I know, which will be needed to be mastered to perfect our time and are necessary skips for the run. So it is worth learning and trying to figure them out for the run. The first is Cascade of Dino Skip. Capturing the sleeping dinosaur and running them onto a nearby bounce pad, and then leaving the capture once we reach max ice, should allow us to dive straight into the Madame Brute fight, which we execute first time. Beginner's luck, but hopefully it will be this way for every run, right? But this does help us leave Cascade with a time of 8 minutes 14. The next few kingdoms proceed very similar to if it was a casual playthrough, grabbing the required moons along with some wrong ones here and there, and learning the general route which we have to take. Sand is left at 26 minutes and 4 seconds, Lake at 31:18, Wooded 47:33, and Cloud at 50:27. It is when we reach Lost that we have to learn our first required skip, even for our first run of Klepto Skip. I believe there are 2 different versions of Klepto Skip. One is Meme Tree and the other is using the cage. The easier of the 2 is the cage one, and one which I have done fast thanks to Cooper free running. But at the time I was unsure whether or not would still be in Klepto's reach doing the cage skip. And Meme Tree is definitely the faster of the 2, and is needed to be learned in the future runs if we want to improve our times in the future. So, time to learn Meme Tree. We end up leaving Lost at 1 hour, 1 minute and 21 seconds. And much like the other kingdoms, we just try to fly through as quickly as possible, with the knowledge we currently have. We leave Metro at 1 minute 26:17, Snow 1:35:50, Seaside 1:45:23, Luncheon 2 hours, 1 minute and 59, Ruined 2:05:45, and Bowser's at 2:31:11. Now for the final kingdom of Moon, and where the biggest skip we need to learn for the run is of Mooncave Skip. Behind the Mooncave there is a Sphinx, and we can basically jump off their head and climb our way up the wall. It's actually a lot more complex than that. It's more you've got a cap bounce, jump on a specific part of the wall, then jump on another bit of wall to make your way up. I'll link the guide which I watched during the run down below, but after 12 minutes, 61 attempts, watching the guide during the run, failing on our 31st attempt, we successfully perform Mooncave Skip. No, wait. I don't think that's how you're meant to do it, but it worked. We make our way to Bowser, defeat them, complete the final escape sequence, and end the run at 2 hours, 52 minutes, 49. So with our base time set in place, I wanted to try and get it much lower, and the target time is sub 2 hours. With learning better movement and some additional skips, it seems like an achievable time. So roll on to the next day and attempt number 2 starts. The run doesn't start off great. Unfortunately, in Cascade we do mess up Dino Skip. Honestly, I have no idea how I even managed to do it first go, and I don't fully know how to do it at this moment. Meaning we do have to go round the long way, and unfortunately we also take a death from Madame Brew, losing a minute on leaving, but we can make it up as we continue the run. Sand and Lake are very similar to the first run. However, since we have a better understanding of moon locations and the route we have to take, and we grab the correct ones this time around, plus we don't have to double check every time we do collect a moon, this allows us to save a lot of time, leaving Lake with a 6-minute time save. Wooded is next up, and the first kingdom we try a new skip. I'm going to assume this skip is called Sphinx Skip, since instead of answering their questions to access the rest of Wooded, we just perform a ground bound or a triple jump into a cap bounce, which easily lets us climb up the waterfall and lets us access Wooded from a higher point. Plus, we can quickly grab 2 easy moons on the way. The rest of Wooded through to the end of Lost played out the same as the first run, and once again we do get kleptoed. But still, with more of knowledge on moon locations and the route, we continue to hit those gold splits. Night Retro is where the next skip we try to learn takes place. Right near the start, instead of running all the way around, there is a canopy which can be jumped onto for a height boost. Followed by a cap bounce, wall bounce, and then a dive, we can get onto the roof. This obviously takes a few attempts. From the roof, we are then able to long jump and cap bounce over to the first moon of Gorilla Sandwich, which 9 times out of 10 I bonk and have to wall jump my way back up anyway. But it does save a lot of time compared to running around. The rest of Night Metro is the same as Run 1, with a nice 2-cycle Mecha Wiggler. And the same goes for Day Metro, the only difference is not grabbing that extra basis story moon this time around. In Snow, we quickly figure out the jump up to the chest moon instead of having to run all the way around like before, and after the rest of the moons this brings us onto Seaside. In Seaside there is a lot we have to learn. First up, there are 2 different moons which are intended to be collected by capturing a gudgeon, which I ended up doing in the first run since I don't know the jumps, but with a few precise jumps we can actually skip capturing the gudgeon and collect these moons without one. Both of these jumps I have no idea how to do, and completely forgot to learn them in my downtime, but we still managed to pull it off, and I have no idea how I managed it at the time. Our final skip for Seaside is Fish Clip, the fastest way to collect the last 2 moons of the kingdom, and according to the guide I was following, it needed to be learned from whether this was a beginner or a pro route. The skip works by capturing a Cheep Cheep and positioning them in an indent at the northern side of the kingdom, near Bubbleoin Northern Reaches Moon. Getting as low to the ground and on the yellow sand border, then exiting the Cheep Cheep, move backwards a few spaces and recapture the Cheep Cheep, diving downwards as soon as we have control. And if everything is lined up correctly, it should bring us out of bounds. I will mention about this clip as well, if you are slightly too close to the Cheep Cheep or not quick enough to get out of bounds and don't quickly exit the Cheep Cheep, well, the game doesn't want you to be out of bounds, so it pushes you away from the edge and you have to set up the whole clip again. Now we are out of bounds, it's time for the 2 moons. The first is Gap in the Ocean Trench. Continuing to dive down, we have to make our way alongside the moon, while staying out of bounds. Once there, we can shake the controller to perform a spin attack, which should briefly clip us back into bounds to collect the moon, but the rest of the Cheep Cheep stays out of bounds, so upon collecting it, we stay out of bounds. We then continue swimming down a bit and to the left, and to enter the Sphinx's loading zone. Entering the treasure vault without having to answer the 3 questions, and collect the moon from the chest. Warp to the Odyssey and complete Seaside. Luncheon. I don't like luncheon. But still, gold. In Ruined we get another gold, and in Bowser's we don't miss the moon this time around for another gold split. And all that's left between us and the sub 2 hour is, well, how Mooncave Skip goes. 48 attempts later, we make it up at the 2 hour and 1 minute mark. Unfortunately, this isn't going to be a sub 2 hour run, but we have made great time compared to our first run, and keeping the pace till the end, we ended up ending the run at 2 hours, 6 minutes, 56 seconds and 36 milliseconds. A huge improvement of 46 minutes. Knowing there was still so many mistakes, deaths and skips I'm still unsure of. The sub 2 hour is just in sight, so we run it back for run 3. Run 3. We waste way too many attempts trying to go for the dino skip, so we just reset. Onwards to run 4. The run starts off the same as the others. We fly through Cap Kingdom and onwards to Cascade. Unfortunately, like our last reset, we can't seem to hit dino skip. So after way more tries than I would have liked, we just call it off and run through the kingdom normally. I decide to use the run as a test for practice of the jumps I need to learn still. Sand is not that much better, with missing moons and a death trying to do a skip I have seen but don't actually know how it's done yet. Yet somehow it is our best sand time yet. Lake felt fast, and that it was, leaving with a gold split and catching back up with a 20-second time save. Inwarded, one of their easier jumps I just can't seem to hit and have no idea what I'm doing. Despite how the run started, we somehow saved 40 seconds in Wooded, meaning although this is going to be a practice run for a few jumps and tricks, the sub 2 hour could actually be on the horizon. Bowser's Cloud Fight, we leave with a minute ahead, and into Lost, and for the meme skip, we actually hit it first time. Potentially a lot of time can be saved here, but the tempo doesn't last. We fall into Poison Swamp and go straight back to the Odyssey. After making our way back with Mean Sip, we do grab the checkpoint atop the cliff just in case of another death happens. Yeah, good thing we got the checkpoint. Trying to grab the last moon, we die for the 3rd time in the swamp, but luckily we grabbed the moon on top of the tree for our last one. Not a great loss, although we didn't get kleptoed and a gold split. We are still 2 minutes ahead of our PB. Metro isn't great, with a 3-cycle Mecha Wiggler and missing the first moon at the start of Day Metro. I have to actually take a few seconds and read through the list because I have no idea what moon I forgot and just couldn't work it out, but eventually we saw it and we get it as our final moon. Despite all that, we somehow come out with 4, almost 5 minutes ahead of normal. This keeps us on our new PB pace. Snow went alright. Not great, but not the end of the world. 2 deaths at the start of the poison room and the other from running too fast with a Goomba, but in the same room I figured out we don't actually have to complete the whole sub area and can just jump the gap. Still leaving way ahead of PV with a 5-minute 40 time save. Although we are currently making good time, keeping up with the gold splits, Seaside is where it could all change. Now, for the first half of the game up until this point, I've gotten fairly used to it. I know the route and I can get the tricks and jumps within a few attempts. There are still a few I have to learn, but at the moment it's fairly consistent with each time I save more and more. However, Seaside onwards is a different story. Well, actually it's mainly just Seaside and Luncheon. The main issue is I forgot to practice the skips, so we're learning them on the fly. The first moon in Seaside. Somehow we got this first time on run 2, but I have no idea how I did it, and even if I can recreate it. The jump requires us to do a ground pound or triple jump into a cap bounce, wall jump and then dive up to the moon. But I didn't know this at the time, and during the run was just trying anything I could do, until somehow we made it up. The third moon has the second jump, normally done with a backflip into a cap bounce, wall jump and dive up, but can be done with a ground pound and I think a triple if there is enough room instead of the backflip. Once again, I have no idea how to do this jump at the time and was trying whatever I could until somehow we got up. Now for the fish clip. On the other hand, I did actually practice this in my downtime, but that doesn't mean it wanted to go our way. It took a few attempts to clip out of bounds, plus a bounce out, which did mean we had to reset the clip. And even once we did get out of bounds, unfortunately I slightly misplaced the Cheep, and once we collected the first moon, we clipped right back into bounds. So we made our way to the Sphinx to answer the question and collect the final moon the long way around. We are still ahead on time though, but no gold split this time around. We managed to stay ahead on luncheon, but time could definitely be improved by learning the jump to get up to the first moon, which is yet another jump I forgot to practice. Ruined goes fine. Bowser's as well is just a fine run. And we reach Moon Cave skip at the 1 hour 40 mark. We almost get up on our 4th attempt, but I ground pound instead of dive, an issue I quite often do. I probably should learn how not to do that as often as what I actually do. But anyway, 6 more attempts later, on our 10th attempt, we get up. Onwards to the Bowser fight. It goes fine, and then to escape. Unfortunately, we take a death in the 2D section, however it's an early on death, so it isn't too bad of a time loss, and if we play the escape perfectly, this time around the sub 2 hour still looks insane. We end the run at 1 hour 49 and 78 milliseconds. Sub 2 hours was achieved, the goal I set myself at the start of this challenge. Even though I don't know all the skips and there are still some moments where time can be shaved, we still managed it. I should be happy with that, right? I achieved the goal I set out to complete. Well, I was when I hit it, and ended the stream shortly after. But that night, it got me thinking. I know I messed up some tricks here and there, had more deaths than I would have liked, and there are still a few more tricks and skips that I haven't fully learned. An hour 30. It's possible, right? My sum of best at the moment is 1 hour 42. If I learn the few more tricks I have remaining and get the ones I do know so far within a few tries, is it possible to shave off that 12 minutes needed? So I load back up before going to bed and practice the 2 seaside jumps and the luncheon star jump. The next day arises, and we hop straight back on for another series of attempts. And well, the run doesn't differ from the previous attempts. We have learned a route, and the only way to improve it is to learn the best lines, reduce the amount of attempts for jumps, and not make any silly mistakes on the way. This run could be it, since we have been doing exactly that. With each kingdom we complete, we improve our time little by little, and most of them being gold splits as well. But now for the 2 kingdoms that I struggle with the most. All of that time saved could be thrown away at the drop of a hat. Seaside. We managed to make the first 2 jumps within only a few drives. Unfortunately, the fish clip doesn't happen, the Cheep despawns, and we have to do the normal route since it's probably quicker than trying to set it all up again. But thanks to getting the jumps as quick as what we do, we leave 5 minutes 22 ahead of our PB. Luncheon is up next. We get up to the first moon on our 2nd try, and the sub area that I hate and always seem to mess up in, we just about manage it, almost hitting our head at the last minute. Finishing up luncheon 6 minutes 11 ahead of schedule. It was definitely worth practicing the jumps the night before, allowing us to shave off so much additional time, and if the run keeps going well, 1 hour 30 could be insane. Ruined and Bowser's go as well as they can do. No mistakes made, and we make our way to Moon Kingdom. We have an 8 minute 42 lead. Unfortunately, we enter Moon Kingdom at 1 hour 28:16, and there is no way I can complete the rest of the game within 2 minutes. But a new PB, which is probably below 1 hour 40, still looks possible. It all just depends on how Moon Cave skip goes. We get up on our 4th attempt. Now it's just the final fight and the escape sequence. The run ends at 1 hour 35:30:67, 5 minutes short of our goal, and I still believe we can shave off those 5 minutes somewhere. Where, I don't know, but I'm sure we can probably figure it out. The next few runs, they start all playing out the same. Only saving time on 1, maybe 2 kingdoms at the most, averaging about a 1 hour 40 per run. And well, we do get a 1 hour 33, it's not consistent. And looking at our sum of best, 1 hour 31. We still need to save time even if we play every kingdom the best we ever have. And after a few more attempts on stream, I start to doubt the 1 hour 30 goal. But one random night after streaming, I decided to give a practice run a go, just to sort out those jumps and routing for a future stream. And well, this happened. Yahoo! Both Cap and Cascade start out the same as most of the other runs, and we get through about a similar-ish time to normal. Sand Kingdom, we managed to catch the bird early on compared to normally where I have to wait for them at the Oasis, already showing some improvements. Unfortunately, it doesn't last. Since we failed the jump to get on top of the arch more times than ideal, we also missed the timing to get onto the lone pillar with the bullet bill, so we have to backtrack it for once we get back to the area, which unfortunately will lose us some time. However, there is a skip I learned a few runs back, and which should make up for it, and that is skipping the ice cave to the top of Jaxie Ruins. Capturing a bullet bill just below the Toast Arena Ruins sand pillar checkpoint, we can fly them through the Leaning Pillar Moon and continue the flight, crash into the side of the Jaxie Ruins, wall jump, cap throw, and then dive up top to collect the moon, plus the 50 extra coins we're going to need for a shop later on. Skipping the ice cave in its entirety, and saving a good 30 seconds or so. We then continue sand as normal and leave 15 seconds ahead of our PB. Lake goes about the same as normal. We almost have to redo the first jump after hitting a Goomba stack on the way up, but luckily we are just knocked to the edge and not all the way back down. The same goes for Wooded. It felt fine running through, and watching back nothing seems to have gone wrong, but we did lose time on exit. Not a lot of time, but time nonetheless. In Wooded, we did actually learn another skip a few runs back, which is Flower Road skip. Well, not the first part of the Flower Road skip. It's a bit too complex for me at the minute, but we can manage the second part. A quick dive and then a cap bounce lets us go straight onto the loading zone and skip having to walk along Flower Road on the second platform. Cloud Kingdom. Probably my worst performance there since we started learning the run. Browser caught his hat multiple times, we did get hit trying to collect the hat, and the hat just loved to spin around and not bump into Cappy. But it's not the end of the world because I was viewing this as a practice run and wanted to try and get the Bowser skip down. After a shocking 40 seconds behind, we finally crash into Lost. Lost is played perfectly. First time mean skip, not forgetting the location of the inside of the rising stone pillar moon, not getting kleptoed, and the only death being on collection of the final moon, since I haven't actually learned how not to die there, and it's only a few second time loss anyway to die. We leave only 30 seconds behind our PB, but with a nice new golden split. Night Metro. On our second attempt, we managed to climb up the building. Inside the City Hall, we glide straight from the moon chest all the way to the exit. A nice 2-cycle Mecha Wiggler comes our way, and onwards to Day Metro. Honestly, it went about the same as normal. The only real difference is we had better pathing and movement, allowing more time saved with another gold split, but still 20 seconds behind our PB. Snow was pretty rough. One too many bonks, and the wind tunnels, whirlwinds, I don't actually know what they're called, but they just didn't seem to want to let us up, making us lose more time and still staying behind the PB. But it is still intended as a practice run, so there's no point resetting, especially when the next few kingdoms are the ones I struggle with the most. Seaside. It has some of the more difficult jumps that I've struggled with in past runs, and well, jump 1, we get it first time, and the same goes for jump 2. Fast forward a bit, we get a pretty quick fish clip, but we end up back in bounds, and we have to detour to answering the Sphinx's question, but still this is our best ever sea slide, and we save 20 seconds. Lungeon's first jump only takes a couple of tries, many thanks to figuring out we can actually ground pound instead of triple jumping, since I find them a lot easier. And now for the most dreaded room. We don't mess it up. Despite Luncheon is going as best as it ever has so far, we do take a Jeff trying to do a jump due to a wrong input, ground pounding instead of diving onto the cappy. We also then almost die at the multi-room thanks to the exact same incorrect input, but luckily we managed to gap the multi-moon with only 1 health left. Despite the death, we do get a 2 minute 47 time save ahead of our PB. Ruined Kingdom. Well, I mean, there's not much to say, it's Ruined Kingdom. Not much can really be done to save time at this point, and it's just a pretty standard fight against the dragon. Bowser's wasn't anything special either. If anything, it was worse than normal. The mech fight at the end was just not kind to us, and could have been finished a lot sooner if the cycles would have been kinder. Still, we do still leave ahead of time, and for a practice run, a 1 hour 30 actually does now seem possible if Moon goes perfectly. Mooncave skip. What can save or kill a run? And, well, we get it second try. Now we just have to hope we can finish the game within the 6 minutes. And that is it. Time. 1 hour, 39 seconds, 0.2. Not sub 1 hour 30, but 1 hour 30 nonetheless. Our goal achieved, and a time I would not have expected to achieve at the start of this. I have been having a blast running through this, and can still see ourselves knocking out more time and getting below 1 hour 30 in a future attempt. But for now, 1 hour 13 and 9 seconds is where we will end the video. Most of this was streamed live on YouTube as well as Twitch, and I plan to continue streaming more attempts in the future, learning the more advanced movements, routes and tricks. And to be fair, if there's any other speedruns, I might want to try and learn some other things for other games. Plus, I will also be streaming any other future challenges or video ideas I have. So if you want to keep up to date, be sure to follow either or both, much will be appreciated. But thanks for watching, feel free to leave a like or even subscribe, as it lets me know whether this is content you enjoy to watch. And any comments down below, I'll be sure to read every one. So once more, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.